Hey, third graders, we're back today with some more rounding because we had so much fun yesterday that we just want to do some more, right? So before we start, we're going to go up to the top and do our friends and bullies so that we can just peek up there when we need to. Our friends are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our bullies are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. A lot of times when people are writing those, they forget the 0. Don't forget the 0, right? All right, now the cool thing about today is yesterday we were rounding to the nearest, did you say 100? Today we're rounding to the nearest 10. So we're going to be underlining a different spot, aren't we? We're going to be underlining the 10 spot, okay? So if I look at the first one, it says 63. The 3 is in the 1 spot. The 6 is in the 10 spot. So I'm going to be underlining the 10 spot every time. So I want you to do that right now. I want you to go and underline all your 10 spots so that you are ready to look at the neighbor, which is the number next door. Okay? All right. We're going to do a couple together here. So when I look at the neighbor, on number 1, you can circle it if you can. My pen is a little thicker. I'm going to put a little, so this is the number that I'm always looking at. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now too. And then we'll be like all ready to start. All right, looking at my neighbor. Okay, so number 1 is 63. I go next door, I see a 3. I look up at my chart. A 3 is a friend. So a friend does not bump up the 6. The 6 stays the same, and everything else turns to zeros. Notice I only have 1 0 because I was in my 10 spot. So I only had 1 spot left, so I had to mark that 1 spot with a 0. Yesterday we kept putting 2 zeros, but today we won't be doing that, okay? So I think it's going to be a pretty simple today. You just looking next door, check it, okay? Mrs. Hagen's going to do number 6 with you. All right, so I look next door, it's a 9. That is a bully, so that's going to beat the 8 up to a 9, and everything else turns to zeros. Okay? Now, cool thing, when I get down to the next section, still rounding to the nearest 10, but guess what? What do you see different down there? Instead of 2-digit numbers, I'm rounding 3-digit numbers. No big deal. We got this. Still going to be underlining the 10 spot. So let's go and do our middle spot because, oops, that did not underline the 6 there, guys. Mine got a little bit bigger there. All right. So make sure you're underlining that middle spot because that's our 10 spot. If I count from the back, I go 1s, 10s, 100s. Get that middle spot. All right, I like to do them all right away. Then you're all set to go. Okay, then I'm going to be looking at my neighbor. I'm still looking at that number right behind. Okay, go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do a full circle because I might mess up my number. All right, everybody keeping up with me? Going to be crossing this part out while you're down there. All right, let's do the first one, number 9. All right, I think I said this yesterday, when there's a number in front, like you see that 1 stays the same. We do not change the 1, okay? I'm looking at the 6 and the 2. So I go next door, it's a 2. That's a friend. He's not going to beat the 6 up. The 6 stays the same, and everything else turns to 0. Okay, and I only had 1 spot left there, didn't I, to mark with a 0. Okay, how we doing, guys? I'm trying to see if there's a tricky one here for that. They all look pretty. Oh, I see one I want to do together. Okay, let's look at number 14. That one can be a little bit tricky. All right, so I'm not going to write down that 1 yet because something special is going to happen on this one. So I go to my 9. I look next door. It's a bully. Now, here's the tricky part. I want to beat the 9 up, but when I do that, a 9, if I beat it up 1, it goes to a 10. So I actually have to bring another 1 over to this spot because I have to regroup, okay? So I have to do a little +1 up there. Okay, so that 1 now changed to a 2, didn't it? Okay, so I had to like carry a 1 over there. That won't happen too often, but every once in a while, if you have a 9 and you're beating it up 1, then that becomes a 10. Okay, and then so I carry that 1 over. I still have a 0 here. Okay, and then I have one more spot left that I need to mark with a 0. That one was a little bit trickier, but you'll get good at those two. All right, so finish up this page, and then I want you to meet me on page 198. Thanks, guys. All right, so you're looking at this page and you're going, oh my goodness, this looks like a lot of writing. But we're going to do a lot of it together, and then we are crossing out a couple of things. So stay with me, okay? Don't get nervous. All right, number 18. It says, the chart at the right, that's this chart right here, okay, shows how many smoothies were sold at the Juice Hut yesterday. By rounding each number to the nearest 10, we're going to estimate how many smoothies were sold. Okay, so what we're going to do is, because the numbers are all lined up nicely, we're going to put a little line next to the number. Okay, just like this, so that we can just round them and write them on the line. Okay, and we are going to be doing our friends and bullies here as well. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I'm going to underline the 10 spot in every single one of them. Okay, and then I'm going to be looking next door. I would say, if you want to write your friends and bullies on this page as well, I would definitely do that. If you're starting to get them memorized, you might be okay. All right, so 13. I have the 1. I go next door. It's a 3, which is a friend. He's not going to beat the 1 up. The 1 stays the same. Everything else turns to 0. Done with that one. Next one, 38. Go next door. It's a 8, which is going to beat the 3 up to a 4, and I have 1, 0. Notice how I'm lining them up, because eventually I want to add all of these. So that's why I'm trying to keep my numbers lined up. All right, so 44, I go next door. It's a 4, that's a friend. So the 4 stays the same, and I have 1, 0. And my last one was, I go next door, it's a 1. He's not going to beat the 6 up. And now I see how all my numbers are lined up. I'm going to be able to add those, and I'm going to be able to get about how many smoothies, okay? So put that there. I think we can just put smoothies here. Oops, don't run into your thing there. So start adding that up and get your answer. Like I said, they're easier to add when they're rounded, okay? I'm actually going to let you do that by yourself. Can you add those up and put your answer right here? Okay. All right. I'm hoping you get it. All right. The next one we are going to do is we are going to cross out number 19, and we are going to work on number 20. Okay. Roz rented a movie that is 123 minutes long. She watched 48 minutes of it. Round each number to the nearest 10 to estimate how many more minutes she has to watch. So same thing as we did up above, I'm going to draw a line right here and right here so that I can round those numbers right next door. And remember, we're rounding to the nearest 10, so underline your 10 spot. So I'm going to underline the 4 and the 2 because those are in the 10 spots. All right, so let's look at 123. I go next door, it's a 3. Is he going to beat the 2 up? No, he is not. My 1 stays the same. My 2 stays the same because he didn't get beat up, and then I have 1 spot for my 0. All right, now I'm going to go to 48. I go next door, it's 8. That's a bully, so he's going to beat the 4 up to a 5. Can you line them up like Mrs. Hagen is so that when we get to our next step? So it rounded to 50. Now, remember, we want to know how many minutes she has left to watch, or how many more minutes she has to watch. So in order to figure out that, we're going to need to minus those numbers, aren't we, to get our answer. Okay? You got this, guys. And then minutes, we can just say MIN. So you're subtracting up here, right? 0, take away 0. Then you got to, don't forget to borrow from your 1, right? Because you can't do 2 take away 5. You have to borrow from there. And then you need to make a 12 here, don't you? Don't forget that. Right? Hopefully everybody's keeping up with me. Okay. And then as I look down at our next one, we're going to be using this chart right here. Okay. And I'm going to say that we're going to cross out number 23. Okay. And then number 21, it says, let's start right here, guys. Okay. Estimate, which is really like rounding. Okay. The total number of books the school received by rounding each number to the nearest 100. All right, so I'm going to go right next door to these guys, and I'm going to put a line. And remember, I'm rounding to the nearest 100. I'm actually going to cross this one out too. You guys will get the idea with just doing 1. Okay, I would love it if you guys could round these by yourself. So underline your 100 spot, and then look at your neighbors, find out if they're friends or bullies. And then when you're all done, you're going to add up those 2 numbers to get the number of your books. Okay. You guys can do that on your own, right? Mrs. Hagen had to help a lot today because it was a newer skill, okay? But that's okay. So finish up that page and you should be good to go.